Unfortunately, the fact that they were covering this up actually works against the case that could be made for a crime against humanity. In order for this to have been a crime against humanity, as I understand and read it, it would have had to have been the institution and open practice of the Catholic Church to rape young boys. Let me explain. Imagine for a moment that the head chairman and CEO of Walmart knew that the majority of employees he was hiring were raping the minors they employed. Now imagine for some strange reason that instead of reporting this to the police, he moves these people to other stores where they can do the same thing and sends a mass email to all Walmart employees to keep their mouths shut about any such conduct they are aware of. This goes on for decades until finally it all comes out. Is the CEO of Walmart responsible for what happened? In part, yes. To deliberately put other children at risk, just the same thing, and to keep this all in an internal matter, dealing with it by not doing it. Would that CEO be charged with a crime? Absolutely. There are any number of serious crimes you could charge that person with. But would that person be charged, in any stretch of the imagination, with a crime against humanity? No, because it's not. That doesn't mean it's not a crime. It just means it's not this crime. So why are they charging the Pope with a crime that they know isn't going to stick? I don't know for sure, but my suspicion is this. When you post in the press or media of any kind that the Pope is being charged with crimes against humanity, not just some lesser charge like criminal conspiracy or the like, it starts to turn heads. And these people, with all due respect, are media whores. They are charging him with crimes against humanity because it sounds good in the press, not because they actually believe he's guilty of it, or because they actually believe that he's convicted of it. The whole thing was just one big publicity stunt, and for me, this whole issue was far too important to be clouded by stunts like this. This isn't the time to start making political points. It's the time to start actually trying to get things done. A bunch of priests raping boys behind the backs of others, and then those others covering up their actions, does not fall into the definition of a crime against humanity as I understand it. And if I understand it to mean that, then these people sure as shit have to understand that. Although obviously it was still a crime and a sin and an atrocity, and they should answer for their crimes. I shouldn't even have to say that. Nevertheless, let's look at two interviews on the matter. The first of Richard Dawkins, who is the buffoon to Christopher Hitchens passed on, and Hitchens, who I actually kind of like. I've said on a few occasions that I don't like Richard Dawkins, and some of you have been sending me emails asking, why don't you like Richard Dawkins? Shit like this is why.
Well, first of all, I should say that it was really Christopher Hitchens who suggested this, and I went along with him, and we talked to a couple of lawyers in England to look into the possibilities. I'm not sure if it's really feasible that he very literally wrote them up in the dog. That's what they're aiming for, but I think it's good consciousness raising to alert people to the fact that there is no reason why the head of a large religious organization should be exempt from the same law that the rest of the world has to submit to. There is no get-out-of-jail-free card that should be offered to a religious leader any more than to anybody else in the world.
Richard, you're an idiot. He's not getting a get-out-of-jail-free card for being the head of a religious organization. He's getting a get-out-of-jail-free card for being head of a state. Yeah, that's the issue that those lawyers you mentioned are going after. That's what the issue is that you signed your name to without knowing the first thing about it because it sounded good in the press. Christopher Hitchens, can you please explain this to him?
Well, there's a very famous human rights council in London called Joe Robinson, who's written a number of books on universal jurisdiction, who knows very well about the International Criminal Court, and who thinks that the Vatican can't claim sovereign immunity as a state, which is what the Church has already said in advance. The Church obviously knows it's in danger here. It's already prepared a defense structure saying, no, the Pope is not a state, we're going to challenge that too.
Thank you, Christopher. So after going along with the team of lawyers without having a good understanding of what they're even trying to do, and assuming that they're trying to remove the Pope's sovereignty as, I guess, the head of a large religious organization, the interviewer begins the question and answer portion of the interview.
Let me ask you this. The Pope is the head of the Catholic Church. It's not like when in the International Criminal Court we see soldiers or military commanders tried for war crimes, where they actually gave out orders to abuse, kill, or rape victims. In this case, he was not behind any order given to anyone. So why prosecute the soldier?
No, he wasn't actually behind any orders to do any raping of children, obviously. The whole point is about cover-up.
I just love how Richard Dawkins responded to that question. Typical Dawkins, so blissfully ignorant. Oh, of course he didn't give out any orders to do any raping. I mean, that's preposterous. It's ridiculous. I mean, why would you even bring that up? The reason she's bringing that up is because that's what would have had to have happened in order for this to be a crime against humanity, you fucking moron. This woman is a reporter whose interest in this issue is negligible and talked about for the sake of a story. How does she know that, but you don't? You're charging him with this. So after specifically stating that he's talking about cover-ups, not actual orders having to do with raping that would lead to a crime against humanity, this woman finally asks him the question that I was asking myself after I actually went and looked up what crimes against humanity actually means.
I'm just confused as to how this is a humanity, I suppose.
You're confused as to how it's a crime against humanity to cover up the raping of 10, 11, 12-year-old children.
I'm not confused as to why it could be considered a crime. I'm confused as how we consider the International Criminal Court's definition, which is clear.
Okay, this should be no problem. Richard Dawkins is going along with charging another human being with crimes against humanity. That is a very serious allegation and not something that anyone with any class or integrity would ever do lightly or on a political whim. So I'm sure he knows exactly how this falls into the International Court's definition of a crime against humanity, and he'll be able to answer her very reasonable question.
You have to ask the lawyer about that. I specifically said when I was to do this interview, I was not going to answer technical legal questions.
Technical legal questions? What do you mean you're not going to answer any technical legal questions? You're charging him with this! You mean you're just going along with charging someone with a serious crime and you don't even know what it is? What Richard Dawkins is literally saying here is that he's all for charging the Pope with crimes against humanity, but whether or not it is a crime against humanity is a technical legal question that he's not prepared to answer. Why does anyone like this guy? He sucks! And to just back up for a second and address something that was mentioned earlier, I once again just love how Richard Dawkins responds to this woman's question. Typical Dawkins, so blissfully ignorant.
You're confused as to how it's a crime against humanity to cover up the raping of 10, 11, 12-year-old children.
No, Richard, she's not confused as to how this is a really, really bad and nasty thing that the guy with the funny hat did. That's not what you're charging him with. She's confused as to how this falls into the International Court's definition of the crime you're charging him with. You know, this is really starting to piss me off, so let's just move to the Christopher Hitchens interview. LeFou may be content to sing songs about how great Gaston is and just go along with whatever he's doing. And yeah, Dawkins basically just said, oh, something anti-religious? Oh, sure, I'll go along with that, it'll good. But Hitchens clearly has an understanding of what they're actually trying to do here. I think. As we saw in the earlier clip, he is aware that the lawyers are challenging the Pope's sovereignty as head of state, and his case continues.
What we have is very plain evidence of it with Gladstone's signature on it, as well as what you might call his fingerprints, a very long-standing agreement. Senior members of the church to obstruct justice. Excuse me, and to cover up a particularly revolting felony. Now, isn't it amazing that this is always discussed as the church's internal affair? Why do we make the assumption